Welcome to TarantulasDreamTV. You are watching a previously recorded broadcast. Tune in every Monday and Wednesday from 9 p.m. to 10 p.m. on Instagram at TarantulasDreamTV for new episodes. And remember, it is a weird, weird world.
これ今までと出方が全然違いますね。これお米この線全部そう。あ、もう一個してきた。
It is intended for the entertainment and instruction of broad-minded adults only, and should not be played to or sold to minors under any circumstances whatsoever. Thank you.
Broadcasting from the floating pie pan in the sky at Groom Lake Analog Recordings. Welcome to Tarantulas Dream TV. Now here's your host, Samba.
Hello everybody, welcome to another broadcast of Tarantulas Dream TV. I am your host, Samba. And tonight and this week we're talking about Planet X Nibiru, the Destroyer. You know, the planet on the far outskirts of the solar system that's been supposed to be in our purview here, according to a lot of Nibiru Planet X believers, and you know, it's supposed to do some catastrophic damage. So we're going to learn about this particular planet this week. Phone number for the show is 520-704-7820. If anyone wants to call in at 9:30, I'm opening up the phone line. So if you have any questions for myself, Samba, that is the time to do it. Phone number 520-704-7820. Again, this is Tarantulas Dream TV. I am your host, Samba, and I'm glad to be here. Well, here we are, Monday, back again. It's like, you know, Monday comes and goes, but it never really leaves us. You know, we're always just circling back around right to the beginning of the week. So I'm hoping everyone's having a good one so far. You know, it's been pretty quiet over here at Groom Lake Analog Recordings, and you know, have some fun stuff to talk about tonight, or, you know, I guess you could call it fun stuff. I don't know. Some people get kind of nervous when it's kind of apocalyptic sort of topics and whatnot. But honestly, with the Planet X Nibiru stuff, I always just found it very fascinating. I've lived through a couple of these Planet X prediction periods where everyone's scared that this rogue planet's going to come hit us. So we're going to learn about that tonight. So before we get into the meat of the night, I want to get into a couple headlines. So first one is from NPR.org. Record heat waves create kiln-like conditions in California. At 121 degrees, Los Angeles County is hit with its highest temperature ever recorded this weekend, as the state swelters in a heat wave that has helped intensify the most devastating wildfire season California has ever experienced, or has experienced in years. The record temperature was measured in Woodland Hills, northeast or northwest of downtown Los Angeles. The kiln-like heat was exacerbated. Dang, I am tongue-tied tonight. By high high-pressure system and a weak sea breeze, according to the National Weather Service. NWS meteorologist Dave Bruno told the New York Times that these factors allowed basically the entire region to roast. Several other locations in the state also faced scorching temperatures. The heat contributed to the death of a 41-year-old hiker who died Saturday from a heat-related seizure after hiking at Tapia Park in Malibu Creek State Park for several hours, LA County Sheriff's officials told CNN. After her death, officials decided to close all hiking trails in the Santa Monica Mountains through Labor Day. Do not hike this holiday weekend, especially with dogs, Malibu Search and Rescue said. So yeah, my thoughts go out to people in California. I got some family out in California, and they sent me a text the other day, and were just letting me know that they're not ready for this kind of heat. I mean, yeah, I wouldn't want to live in an area that is described as kiln-like right now. I mean, what so you get some potter's clay and you just put it outside and you got yourself a nice little bowl or a jar or something. If you just throw it out there, kiln-like, that sounds awful. But anyway, the next headline comes out of CBSNews.com. Pastor holds prayer rally in defiance of coronavirus health guidelines at the California State Capitol. So both these stories coming out of California. A pastor associated with Bethel Church in Redding, California, held a prayer service in protest against coronavirus prevention measures on the California State Capitol grounds on Sunday. He is claiming more than 12,000 people attended, CBS Sacramento reports. Worship pastor Sean Fute has been holding Christian concerts across the U.S. amid the coronavirus pandemic in defiance of local orders against local gatherings. Fute rails against the preventative measures being taken to stop the spread of the virus, arguing that freedom of being able to practice religion is being infringed. Receive updates, offers, and more information from CBSFamily.com. So, if you, this whole kind of argument that the coronavirus shutdown is really just infringing on your religious right to practice. I mean, I guess in a way, because you're not really supposed to be having these large gatherings, but it also feels weird that, especially for Christianity and followers of the faith, that you'd want to put your fellow Christians or just the public at large at risk for the coronavirus. It seems like it would go against the teachings of loving your fellow man or your fellow human. Like, I don't know. It just feels weird that you can't practice preaching the Bible over online to your followers or just tell them to read the Bible. I don't know. Anyway, so that's headlines for tonight. Tonight, Planet X this week. So I'm not sure how many people are familiar with Planet X or know about what Planet X is. Like I said at the beginning of the show, I've lived through quite a few of these sort of end of the world kind of conspiracy theory times. I remember I started really getting into Planet X right around when 2012 was happening. The sort of conspiracy that the end of the Mayan calendar and 2012 was going to come and just whatever catastrophe was going to happen, that was going to be essentially the end of the world or end of the planet Earth in some way. We didn't know how, we didn't know what was going to happen, but one of those rumors was potentially Planet X was going to come and do some damage. So for this show, I wanted to get kind of into some of the history of these Planet X conspiracy theories, mostly focusing on one particular person with this particular episode. On Wednesday, I'm going to get into a few of the other theories surrounding Planet X that kind of go back into history, have to do with UFOs and aliens, and potentially aliens visiting us from the planet X or Nibiru. So rumors of a mysterious hidden planet in our solar system has persisted for centuries. The search for this hidden planet has been picking up steam over the past decade, to the point that NASA has had to release an official comment or stance on the matter. Now, this is from solarsystem.nasa.gov. Caltech researchers have found mathematical evidence suggesting that there may be a Planet X deep in the solar system. This hypothetical Neptune-sized planet orbits our sun in a highly elongated orbit far beyond Pluto. The object, which the researchers have nicknamed Planet 9, could have a mass of about 10 times that of Earth, an orbit about 20 times farther from the sun on average than Neptune. It may take between 10,000 and 20,000 Earth years to make one full orbit around the sun. The announcement does not mean that there is a new planet in our solar system. The existence of this distant world is only theoretical at this point, and no direct observation of the object nicknamed Planet 9 have been made. The mathematical prediction of a planet could explain the unique orbits of some smaller objects in the Kuiper Belt, a distant region of icy debris that extends far beyond the orbit of Neptune. Astronomers are now searching for the predicted planet. So there's been rumors about a far-off giant kind of planet or celestial body in the solar system for a long time. I don't particularly find that I find that credible. I feel like that's probably the case. I mean, even with our sophisticated telescopes and satellites, there's only so much we can see out there right now. So the idea that there's a large celestial body beyond what we can see isn't particularly crazy to me, but we'll continue. However, conspiracy and doomsday theorists have a different idea of what this hypothetical Planet X is. Now, this is from dailyexpress.com. And if you actually go to dailyexpress.com, they're kind of like a big purveyor of publishing these sort of end-of-the-world conspiracy articles. They seem to pop up pretty much every time I check my news aggregator app on my phone. The most recent ones are just saying that the Bible is predicting this sort of end-time scenario that's happening right now, and not necessarily having to do with Planet X, but that there's a lot of signs in Israel with the rising of essentially the church in Israel is kind of a sign that we're in the end times. So, but there are end times conspiracies having to do with Planet X, and this is one of them. Or this is from the Daily Express. Planet X, or Nibiru, is believed by many to be a rogue planet, brown dwarf star, or entire planetary system that orbits the sun every 3,600 years. Purveyors of the Nibiru conspiracy theory believe the planet will arrive near Earth one day, heralding the imminent apocalypse. Now, this rumored celestial body has been referred to by many different names, including Planet X, Nibiru, Wormwood, the Destroyer, the Red Dragon, Nemesis, Lucifer, and many others. So if you ever hear these names kind of floating around the blogosphere, Twitter, social media, 4chan, I don't know, conspiracy forums, paranormal forums, they all tend to refer to kind of the same idea of a rogue celestial body that has the potential to completely wipe out life on Earth in some way. So this object is rumored to be either crash into the Earth, a la the film Melancholia. I'm not sure how many people on the air have seen Melancholia, but without giving away, well, it's kind of hard to give it away because essentially the end of the movie is kind of at the beginning of the movie. But if you haven't seen it, it's just about a rogue planet that is potentially going to do some damage to the Earth and kind of the lives of the people on the Earth. It focuses on a handful of people, but that's sort of a theory that's going to happen, that this planet is going to crash into us and completely obliterate the planet. Another theory is that it will come close enough to our orbit to cause a massive pole shift, causing widespread destruction, or potentially miss hitting Earth, but due to its strong gravitational pull, will bring numerous objects along with it, essentially raking the Earth with chunks of debris. Now, another theory involves the planet returning, bringing along the Anunnaki, who some ufologists and conspiracy theorists believe seeded or created life on Earth, which we'll get a little bit more into on Wednesday. Now, the official NASA stance on Planet X is that a celestial body could exist on the outskirts of our solar system, past Pluto, and that there has been evidence pointing to the potential of its existence, but its elongated orbit, even at its closest point to the sun, would still not come close enough to Earth and is of no threat to the planet. So, according to NASA, we're floating out there fancy free, nothing we have to worry about with this mysterious Planet X. But on the other side of the coin, if you're a conspiracy theorist and you believe that the arrival of Planet X is imminent, then they're all full of lies. It's just a cover story, and there's some people out there who know the truth. Now, one of those people that claims to know the truth about Planet X is a woman named Nancy Lieder. Now, Nancy Lieder has been pointed to as one of the main sources of the modern theories regarding Planet X. Now, this is from ZetaTalk.com, which is going to come up quite a bit in this episode. Now, ZetaTalk.com is a website formed by Nancy in 1995 to share the information spread by the Zetans, who Nancy says became aware of her contactee status in 1993 and the potential for being a communicator of the Zeta message in the midst of a full life with a family and a full-time job. Now, as a contactee, Nancy participated in the hybrid program and met one of her hybrid children. children. In preparation for her communicator role, Nancy was given life form introductions and introduced to MJ-12 or Majestic 12 at an early age. Nancy expends her retirement time and money on getting the Zeta Talk message out. Now, requests for interviews take top priority. She quit a professional job in California in 1999 to move to Wisconsin to walk the talk. Born in Wisconsin, Nancy returned to her grandparents' homestead where she first met the Zetas in the woods as a young girl. There, she gardened, saved seeds, raised chickens, and tried to be an example of how people should prepare for the coming changes. As the Zeta Talk message is threatening to the establishment, who fear the populace will panic, Nancy deals with a lot of flack. So this Nancy Leader, she is a kind of a big deal in the Planet X kind of conspiracy world. She is still around today. She is still a firm believer in the idea that Planet X is real and it is coming. And she's got the inside scoop from what she says are the Zetans. Now, Leader claims that as a young child, beings from the Zeta Reticuli, who are the Zetans, implanted a device into her brain, allowing her to receive transmissions from them. It is through these transmissions that she has received information regarding the upcoming arrival of Planet X. Now, Leader has even tied the arrival of the Hale-Bopp comet in her Planet X theory. Now, this is from ZetaTalk.com, so this is all official from the mouth of Nancy Leader over here. So from the ZetaTalk.com archives written on August 15, 1995. The Zetas have commented on Hale-Bopp since it first hit the press in mid-1995. They have stated that Hale-Bopp is a fraud designed to get the populace looking in the wrong direction, not towards Orion. Hale-Bopp is nothing more than a distant star and will draw no closer. The 12th planet, a true messenger of death, will not even get the attention the fraud Hale-Bopp is getting today. That's because it's a real threat, not a diversion. Now, according to Leader, the Hale-Bopp comet does not exist. It is a fraud perpetrated by those who would have the teeming masses quiescent until it is too late. Hale-Bopp is nothing more than a distant star and will draw no closer. Why has Hale-Bopp at this time decided to fragment and explode, growing in brightness? This is decidedly not the pattern that comets present, but it is the pattern of exploding stars, supernovas, which become for a brief time visible and then wink out. So, right around this time is when Nancy really started to get kind of popular with her Planet X theories, as she got a decent amount of media coverage when she was kind of speaking out, saying that the Hale-Bopp comet is actually not a comet. It's just a star that's visible, but essentially it's all a fraud, trying to get people to just pay attention to this comet, this Hale-Bopp comet, when really we should be paying attention to Planet X. Now, this is from Wikipedia.org. After Hale-Bopp's perihelion revealed that it is one of the brightest and longest observed comets of the last century, Leader removed the first two sentences of her initial statement from her site, and her initial statement was the Hale-Bopp comet does not exist. Now, if you go to her website, you go to an archived version, you'll still find that those two sentences saying that Hale-Bopp does not exist, but if you go to the website now, into the archives, it has indeed been scrubbed. So she did change it. So her claims eventually made it to the New York Times. Now, Leader described Planet X, and this is from ScienceABC.com, being 4 times bigger than Earth, and said that its closest approach to Earth would be on May 27th, 2003. Now, this is after the Hale-Bopp comet came and passed, and she was kind of proven wrong that it was a hoax, and that Planet X essentially wasn't real, or that at least it wasn't visible in the same way that Hale-Bopp was. Now, this, according to her, would end Earth's rotation for exactly 5.9 days. Earth's poles would destabilize in a pole shift, which is going to be a physical shift instead of a geometric one, due to the magnetic extraction caused between Earth's core and the magnetism of Planet X. When the event date came and went, and the Earth did not undergo a large pole shift and Planet X was nowhere to be found, Leader later said her claims were a white lie to fool the establishment, explaining that she didn't disclose the true date on the pretext of not wanting to give too much time to the people in power to declare martial law and hold people in cities during the event, which would lead to their deaths. Which is an interesting reason to lie or essentially spread disinformation. Now, I had covered this on the QAnon episodes the other week, where the followers of QAnon essentially say that any kind of prediction that doesn't come to pass, that Q was saying would come to pass, is essentially on purpose. That it's purposely misdirecting the elite, the Democrats, these underground satanic cabals, essentially throwing them off the trail by spreading this disinformation. And Nancy Lieder apparently is doing the same thing, where she'll intentionally spread this kind of disinformation to throw off the establishment, the people in power, to keep them from declaring martial law, which is an interesting tactic, considering that if the elites, the government, the people who would be able to institute martial law, that they would be fooled by the claims of just one woman about Planet X and aliens. But anyway, that's kind of a through line through a lot of conspiracies, where they're kind of reasoned away in this capacity, and Nancy Lieder is doing the same thing. Now, Nancy Lieder is still active in the Planet X community, although Zeta Talk seems to have stalled on updates. However, Zeta Talk does link to various other websites associated with Lieder, including earthchanges/poleshift.ning.com, where Lieder does answer questions from members of the site, including commenting on current events. Now, one of these questions was from a Q&A session conducted August 28th, 2020, so actually pretty recently. Although on the website it's listed as September 30th, 2020. I don't know exactly why it's listed for the future, but anyway. A real reason, or a question submitted to Nancy asked her / the Zetas on their thoughts on the current COVID-19 lockdowns and what the real reason could be for the civil unrest happening across the globe. Now, the person, when they kind of typed out this question, it's a little hard to kind of get to the meat of what they're talking about. And it's actually quite a long question, and the response is equally as long, so I'm going to try to get through this question, and hopefully it makes sense to y'all on the air. When I was reading it, it makes sense, but there's a lot of weird kind of paraphrasing that I don't quite understand how anyone could kind of understand what this person's talking about. But the question went, my question is on January 2021 at this point. In response to the Stonehenge CC, the Zetas said that the time for benign subterfuge to negate the effect of the daily Earth wobble is past. Now, the daily Earth wobble is it's a real thing. The Earth is wobbling, and I'll get to this later on, but there's a scientific reason for the Earth wobbling. But if you believe in Planet X and the Planet X conspiracy, the Earth is wobbling even slightly because the Planet X, or Nibiru, is getting so close to the Earth that its gravitational pull is kind of causing our rotation to kind of go out of whack. So that's the daily Earth wobble they're talking about. To negate the effect of the daily Earth wobbles past, will this be fully achieved by January 2021? Could the Zetas have here given an insight on what we can expect in some point of January 2021? Will this be a strong wobble on removing a benign subterfuge, worldwide visibility of Nibiru, understanding by the population a halted orbit as this CC season showed? And also, if possible, more details on how governments of the US, European countries, Russia, China are preparing to respond to that situation. Now, I'm going to skip quite a bit of her question, because she kind of just goes into how much of different European countries are sort of still locking down when it comes to COVID-19 cases and whatnot. But her question to me didn't really make a lot of sense. But according to the Zetas, they understood it. So the response from Nancy and the Zetas was, "We have stated that the Bush administration warned heads of state worldwide in 2003 that Nibiru had entered the inner solar system, and subsequent updates to these heads of state have pinpointed the date when Nibiru will be visible to the populace as around January 2021. It is clear that the establishment is frozen in fear, else the public would have been informed by now. The public will eventually learn that Nibiru is real, present, and if history is any guide, will pass by the Earth with devastating consequences. How will the public react? The establishment would like the public to remain ignorant for as long as possible. This will be assisted by denying the existence of Nibiru, then denying that it is in the inner solar system, then denying that a passage will result, and finally denying that a passage will cause any devastation to the Earth. This approach has already been in operation." So NASA denied that Nibiru even exists. Marshall Masters, an establishment cooperative, has consistently stated that any sighting of Nibiru is from an object behind the sun, far out in space, and not in the solar system at all. All effects from the gravity and magnetic influence of Nibiru on the Earth are ignored or ascribed to other factors. factors. The daily Earth wobbles, now putting the sun in the wrong place at sunrise and sunset, and the onslaught of red dust and debris from the tail of Nibiru is showing that the body causing this is close at hand. The establishment in those countries who have prepared a safe place for their citizens, as Russia and China have done, have a way to deflect panic. Move to the far east of Russia or inland to the ghost cities of China. India has been invited to the far east. Those countries that have high ground away from the coastlines and can anticipate a temperate climate after the crustal shift will likely use Russia and China as models to copy, perhaps confiscating farmland inland and establishing work camps to grow food. Martial law is expected to be implemented everywhere. It is those countries without these resources that will truly panic. Draconian lockdowns are being continued in Europe, despite empty hospitals and obviously herd immunity to COVID-19. Tens of thousands are protesting. Rather than oppressing their citizens, Germany and the UK should develop survival site plans. So yes, that was the Zetas and Nancy Leader's response to what to expect in January 2021. Apparently, according to the Zetas, that will be the time where we will see Planet X, despite the fact that if you go onto the interwebs, either through Google or through DuckDuckGo, my favorite search engine, and search for Planet X videos, people are claiming to see it now. They're claiming to see the rogue planet in the sky. Of course, it's not quite as imposing as you would imagine. It tends to be just kind of like a red sort of light in the sky, kind of close to the sun. But apparently in January 2020, we will be able to see this very clearly, very visibly, and the administrations and the governments of the world will not be able to hide it. Now, this is from livescience.com. This is the explanation for the Earth wobble, because in the Planet X community, the Earth wobble is kind of a big proof to them that Planet X is coming. Now, since 1899, the Earth's axis of spin has shifted or wobbled about 34 feet. Now, research quantifies the reason why and finds that a third is due to melting ice and rising sea levels, particularly in Greenland, placing the blame on the doorstep of anthropogenic climate change. Another third of the wobble is due to land masses expanding upward as the glaciers retreat and lighten their load. The final portion is the fault of the slow churn of the mantle, the viscous middle layer of the planet. So there's a scientific reason why it's wobbling, and it is wobbling. So, but again, that's just sort of this kind of because it's coming from mainstream science. Planet X believers believe that it's all BS. So, at any rate, we're at 9:28, so we're going to go to our song of the night and our little break over here. Now, the song is by the band La Luna, who are Canadian. They're from Toronto, Canada. The song's House Party from the 2016 album Always Ready. So it is 9:28. After the song, it'll be open line. So the phone number for the show is 520-704-7820 if you have any questions for Samba, myself, or if you just want to, shoot the S for a little bit. I'm totally down to talk to my listeners tonight. I hope everyone's having a good Monday night, and I hope you all enjoy La Luna.
Feels like empty sheets, like the
There you go. That was that was La Luna with the song House Party from their 2016 album Always Ready. Now you can find them at lalunaband.bandcamp.com. Now unfortunately I believe they actually broke up, so unfortunately I don't think we'll be hearing any new music from the band La Luna, but they still have a handful of releases over on their Bandcamp, so feel free to throw them a couple bones over there. They seem like fine upstanding young folk making some cool kind of like post-hardcore kind of screamo, I suppose. So feel free to throw some money towards La Luna or some bones, moon bones over at La Luna. The time is 9:31. It is open line, so if you have any questions for Samba over here, if you just want to talk, if you want to tell me how your day is going, if you have any plans for the future, despite the fact that we're all going to be crushed by a rogue dwarf planet. Phone number for the show is 520-704-7820. Feel free to give Samba a call over here. So let's get into some of these comments. Looks like we got some from the beginning of the show. Trial and Error Collective, hello there. Old Adam Man, hello. Eggs and Eyes, it's because they secretly want to get to end times. Honestly, yeah, I believe that, especially with a lot of religious folk, the promise of the reward certainly is very intriguing, very enticing. So kind of speeding us towards the apocalypse, speeding us towards the end of days is not a scary thing for a lot of religious people, which is honestly kind of, I'm a little envious of them in the sense that, kind of having sort of come to grips with the idea of the time of your time on Earth kind of ending, but there being a greater reward. Kind of, it fills you with a sense of calmness and stuff, which I can get behind. I don't quite get behind a lot of the other aspects of religion, but kind of being comforted by it, I think, is potentially a good thing. Mary Ellen Rose, isn't Hail Bop a Hanson song? Honestly, it's probably one of the best Hanson songs. I remember I was going to a sort of a summer camp when I was a young kid, and I had one of the camp counselors was a friend of my mom's and would drop me off over at her work. Camp Adventure, for all y'all out there, if anyone ever went to Camp Adventure over here in the Southwest, and they would blast Bop or Hail Bop in the car, and even as a kid I remember thinking that song was just awful. But sorry if there's any Hanson fans on the air. Trial and Error Collective, rad song, thumbs up. I'm glad you liked La Luna. Trial and Error Collective, I just discovered them a couple of weeks ago, kind of just through my normal search through Bandcamp, trying to find some new music to listen to for various different projects and whatnot, and I came across La Luna and was pleasantly surprised. So I'm glad that we share a like and a love of La Luna. And Las Maletas, hello. So glad to have everyone on the air tonight. So let's get back into some Planet X, some more Planet X, some more Nancy Leader talk. So the next thing I wanted to get into was the idea of rumored safe locations. Now, this is according to ZetaTalk.com, and what I love about this particular episode is a lot of the information is directly from the horse's mouth, if you will. I'm not expounding upon these theories necessarily with a lot of my beliefs. This is essentially just what they're saying. They want everyone to know exactly the truth, according to them. So they, go to ZetaTalk.com if you want to learn more. But I will say it's kind of a hard site to navigate. There's a ton of content. Obviously, this website has been online for over probably almost 2 decades now. So it's got a lot of stuff on there. So according to ZetaTalk.com, the Zetas have given instructions on potential safe locations if and when Planet X is to return. Now, Planet X will cause massive destruction across the globe due to the physical pole shifts that will occur. The sea levels will rise and fall dramatically, causing some countries and areas of land on Earth to be fully submerged in water, while other parts will actually rise up into relative safety. So there's some parts of the world or some parts of the globe that will actually be very safer for everybody if we were told the truth and we could all move those kind of locations. So we're going to get into some of those locations, but actually, for all my Arizona listeners out there, Arizona is actually a fairly safe location. Now, this is from Zeta Talk. They say, as old rock, not much will happen, even the Grand Canyon remaining unaffected in spite of temporary deluges in the area. During the hour of the shift and hours following, the Colorado River will drain the immense amount of water that will dump on the Rockies during the clash of water-soaked air that will push inland into the Mississippi Valley during sloshing of the Gulf, and similar water-soaked air that will push inland into the Sierras during the compression of the Pacific. Existing drainage routes will serve as the route for this water to rush back to the sea. The Hoover Dam will not survive the Richter 9 quakes. In particular, will not survive the heaving and jolting that will go on as the Pacific plates subducts under the west coast. Such subduction does not affect only the immediate area, but causes adjustments in neighboring rock strata, sometimes hours afterwards in aftershocks. We have stated that all river will flood beyond their known flood levels, and that riverbanks should be avoided, and the Colorado River is no exception. Arizona will be a crowded area going into the shift due to the mystique that many ascribe to this place, particularly Sedona, and thus the poor land and minimal water will be taxed during the aftertime. Where the Arizona rises into the mountains, the highlands offer a better potential life in the aftertime. So congratulations to us, everyone living out in the Southwest in Arizona. It sounds like we're going to be okay. I don't think we should go anywhere. One of the reasons I'm actually fond of Arizona secretly is when it comes to conspiracy theories and kind of safe locations for global disasters, Arizona is kind of seen as one of those kind of safe havens for a lot of conspiracy theorists and kind of preppers because of our mountain ranges and how it kind of forms like a natural barrier that will help protect us from a lot of these kind of land shifts, especially with rivers and whatnot overflowing, and the idea that potentially California would just be would just sink into the coast and overtaken by the ocean. Arizona would get its own beaches essentially. So I'd say if for some reason in January 2021 and we're looking out in the sky and there's a new bright star that we're seeing during the daytime and it's Planet X, don't go anywhere because we should be fine according to the Zetas. Now real quick, the after time is the period after the great pole shift has occurred. So at any point later on in the night, if I mention the after time, that is what I'm talking about. Is essentially that's what the time period after the pole shift, what that's going to be called. Now understandably, life after such an extreme event will be tough, with many deaths caused by both the actual doomsday event, the destruction of all modern luxuries, as there will be no electricity, internet, modern forms of communication, etc., and the daunting task of surviving in a post-apocalyptic landscape. Fortunately, poleshift.com has a video addressing these issues. So I do want to play you a portion of the video. The video is about 5-6 minutes long, and it's essentially it's kind of a slideshow type video. So it's not particularly interesting to watch the whole 5 or 6 minutes, but I did kind of cut up a little clip of it because I want to give everyone hope on the air, just in case anyone's feeling a little nervous now that they're thinking about Planet X. So this is the message of hope from the Zetas. Now, I will say for that video, it is very hopeful. I will say that for these Planet X believers, the believers of Nancy Leader and the Zetans, or the Zetas, they do have a lot of hope for the future. They're seeing that the the catastrophe of Planet X's arrival, for the survivors, we should see it as a hopeful challenge, that through this adversity, through these catastrophes, this catastrophic damage, that we should look at it as sort of a blessing in disguise. We won't have. There's a portion of the video that talks about we won't have bosses anymore. We won't have to deal with finances and debt and working for the man every night and day. That'll be a thing of the past, and we should look forward to the future of sort of self-growth and kind of reinvention post Planet X's arrival. So, I will say that it's a message of hope, which I'm more down for than sort of the fire and brimstone look at things, because that tends to point to a lot of people as potential enemies, especially in religion. If they're if a preacher's talking about fire and brimstone and it's because of homosexuality or because of this premarital sex or something, it tries to paint other people as enemies. Well, something like this is it's just a global catastrophe. You can't do anything about it, and you should, if you survive, look at it as adversity, but you'll make it through. It's a message of hope. Anyway, so the next thing I want to get into is Zeta reports. Now, since roughly 2009, Leader has posted Zeta reports, or videos distilling communications from the Zetas on Planet X and posting them to her YouTube channel. Now, as of September 3rd, she's still uploading videos, although they have grown in runtime. So some of the older videos, which are definitely easier to digest, they tend to run around 3-4 minutes, maybe 5 or 6 minutes at the longest. But since then, they've grown to hour and a half long discussions, almost sort of like radio interview style. It's herself and I believe a friend of hers that helps run the Zeta Report now. So it's definitely more of like a long form radio show, not quite a podcast, because despite the fact that they've been doing this for so long, some of the newer videos, the audio is really bad. So I don't really know what's going on with that, and it's very hard to kind of think that you're going to listen to it for an hour and a half. But anyway, let's get into some of these videos. So in 2011, Leader posted a video talking about the viral video purporting to show a living alien entity, affectionately referred to as Skinny Bob. So this is Nancy Leader talking about alien entity Skinny Bob.
I'm Nancy Leader on the Zeta Report. Just released in April 2011 and going viral on the internet is a video clip purporting to show an alien. The source is being protected, but the footage appears genuine, and this is from tape filmed between 1942 and 1969. Out of 180 minutes on tape 5, only 17 seconds have been released. The alien is dubbed Skinny Bob. Comparison to the depiction of the Zetas presented on the Zeta Talk website is remarkable. Yet another confirmation of the validity of the site. Note the high cheekbones and the size and placement of the large black eyes when compared to the famous Zeta Talk graphic. For the Zetas, their large dark eyes are an adaptation to their dim suns. Our large eyes were an adaptation to our worlds, dim by your standards. Zeta Talk.
There you go. So that's Nancy Lieder talking about Skinny Bob. Now, I remember when that video kind of came out online, and it was, again, purported to be actual lost footage of an alien, potentially one that was recovered during the Area 51 kind of crash, or the Roswell crash. I never really saw it as it being refuted or anything, or proven to be doctored. It doesn't quite look particularly real. It looks fairly CGI, but according to Nancy Lieder, it's actually real, and it bears a striking similarity to her depictions of the Zetas or the Zetans. Now, one thing I find interesting about the Zetas, or at least her depiction, is they essentially look like alien greys, which kind of historically in the UFO community have been seen as malevolent creatures, sort of pulling the strings in regards to UFO abductions and human experiments. And the fact that she claims that she was part of a hybrid program tends to be viewed in the UFO community as a bad thing. The hybrid programs are there to sort of save the alien race through the hybridization program. It's never been really seen as a good thing. So I find it interesting that she is claiming that these aliens, these UFOs or extraterrestrials, are essentially giving her information to save the planet from Planet X and kind of elevate us on a spiritual level. Yet kind of through most of sort of ufology and study, and people who study extraterrestrials, they tend to see the Greys as malevolent. So she has a slightly different take, or potentially maybe the Zetas and the alien Greys are related, and maybe the Zetas are the good ones and the alien Greys are the bad. I'm not quite sure, but I do find it interesting that they essentially look exactly the same. Now, in 2013, Lieder posted a Zeta report detailing images taken by a satellite showing what she claims is Planet X in the form of a winged globe, similar to the winged son of Thebes of Egyptian mythology. Now, this is the clip of her talking about the satellite taking a picture of Planet X.
Nancy Lieder on the Zeta Report. The SOHO satellite has several images taken at regular intervals. The EITs are close-ups of the sun at various wavelengths. These do not capture Planet X or its dust cloud and trailing moons, which are to the side slightly in the view from Earth, because they have a narrow view. But on December 23, 2007, the Planet X complex, complete with streaming tail, appeared in the red C3 image on the large angle and spectrometric coronagraph. In 2009, this complex started showing up on the blue C2 images too. The first dramatic appearance was on March 27, 2009, in the shape of a winged globe. The planet to the right, in the familiar shape that planets take on SOHO images, is Mercury. The winged globe is one of the depictions of Planet X by the ancients, and the image on the blue C3 was remarkably similar to these ancient drawings of the winged globe. The Planet X complex has shown up since that numerous times on both the red C3 and the blue C2 images, evading the automatic airbrushing programs that NASA put into place. For the Zetas, the satellites are bobbling around in the turmoil that the approach of Planet X is causing, and the Planet X complex is no longer where expected by the airbrushing programs. Why did Planet X not appear earlier on the stereo ahead, but now is doing so? Because the Earth is pulling far to the left, trying to evade Planet X, placing Planet X further to the right in line of view. Zeta Talk, December 5th, 2009.
And there you go. That's Nancy Lieder talking about some satellite images that she claims show Planet X. Now, one thing I find interesting about the satellite images is if you look at the two photos of the satellite images, one shows just the star or the planet on the right. The next images show what she claims is Planet X. What I find interesting is if you look at the time codes on the images posted, they're within, I think, a couple minutes of each other. So it's very interesting that the Planet X would just kind of appear so quickly. It's not like these images were taken months and months apart where it kind of took some time to show up. So Anyway, according to Nancy Leader, it's Planet X. It doesn't quite seem to be the case in the fact that the kind of light shows up so quickly and seems to disappear as well. It's a little suspect, but, not quite as suspect as the Zetas saying that the Earth is trying to pull away from Planet X, sort of like a kid running away from their mom, trying not to go to bed or something. I don't know. So, so anyway, the last video I have for you from Nancy is one more Zeta report. Now, this Zeta report dives into exactly how continents were formed in the past and how North America will literally be ripped apart due to Planet X's arrival. Now, this is this is a slightly newer one, and by that I mean probably around maybe 2013 or something. So the production value went up a little bit, and I don't believe it actually has that kind of little bell tone in the back, and I left those in on purpose because it was watching so many of these Zeta Report videos, having that tone play every single time and have that same intro video of her introducing herself kind of drove me crazy. So I wanted to share that with you for a little bit. So here's a clip of Nancy talking about essentially all the, especially North America, getting ripped apart by Planet X.
This is Nancy Leader on the Zeta Report. What caused Pangea to rip apart into the continents, the Americas drifting away? For the Zetas, this happened during prior pole shifts, and it's not continental drift, it's continental rip. Is that happening today? Sure is. This same ripping is going on today because of the presence of Planet X in our solar system, that big magnetic bully. For the Zetas, North America is going to be pulled diagonally. Quebec going up and to the east, Mexico going down to the west. Ripping along the New Madrid fault line and all its associated faults. Are there signs that this is happening? Oh yeah. Well, Planet X came into our solar system in 2003, and in August of 2003, we had that dramatic blackout in New York City. 1 million commuters marching home quietly in the dark across the bridges. Well, they traced the problem to the Niagara substation. That's right on the St. Lawrence Seaway. For the Zetas, the seaway is ripping open, and now we have Newfoundland along the seaway, sliding into the sea. Has this ever happened before? I don't think so. And what are the signs in Mexico? Well, recently, there was a flood tide that rolled into Acapulco for no reason. There was no storm surge nearby. There was no earthquake creating a tsunami. There was no explanation. Is Mexico moving west? And that's what caused the flood tide? For the Zetas, trouble is just starting for North America. And the real worry is the New Madrid, because when that diagonal pole goes, we'll have trouble from Houston to Chicago, up the East Coast all the way to Boston. The land to the west of the Mississippi is supposed to drop. Flooding, and later a delayed reaction up along the west coast. Until next time on the Zeta Report, this is Nancy Leader.
There you go. That's Nancy Leader letting us know what's going to happen, or what was supposed to happen. One of the through lines for a lot of this conspiracy is the kind of arrival and then the sort of the nothing. Like a lot of dates are kind of talked about and then nothing happened. So that was apparently some predictions from earlier on in the decade, probably around 2013 or something like that. And none of this stuff happened. So potentially this is all going to happen maybe next year in 2021, at least, according to Nancy Leader. So I want to get to some of these comments before the end of the show. I got about 6 minutes left on the broadcast over here. Mary Ellen Rose, cool from California. Yeah, I'm sorry, Mary Ellen Rose. I believe you probably, I think you just moved to California not that long ago, but it might be time to get out, maybe come back to Arizona, because it sounds like we're going to be sitting pretty over here, maybe with a nice, cool beach in the next couple of years or something. Trial and Error Collective, love some good stock footage. Yeah, they definitely took advantage of some great stock footage. Eggs and Eyes, yep, Anarchy and Destruction is a game changer for paying my rent for sure. When this destruction happens, we're not going to have to deal with paying rent. We're not going to have to deal with, working for bosses we don't like. If we don't like our bosses, I'm not saying we do, but, it's kind of a joke that no one likes their boss. But you don't have to deal with that anymore. You don't have to deal with car problems. You don't have to deal with anything. It's just all Easy living. Las Muletas, you should book whatever band did the score on that video. It was probably just a keyboard, so I'll find out what keyboard made that song, and I'll get them on the air maybe next week or something. Eggs and I, Samba, you gotta interview her. Maybe I will reach out to her. I've been trying to kind of think of ways to interview people who I don't have a connection to. Now, I'm not trying to give anything away and say all the guests I have on the air are personal friends or anything, because they're all mystery people, but I haven't interviewed anybody that I haven't met at least once at some point. So it'd be interesting to see if I can get someone on the air who is just an expert in whatever field they're in and just want to talk to old Samba and kind of educate the listeners on their particular theories. Trial and Error Collective, I bet that bell tone is in 432 hertz. I actually used to tune my guitar to 432 for a long time, and I loved it. I loved the way it sounded, and more recently I've gone back to 440 just because it was easier to kind of play along with other instruments. And Eggs and Eyes, her voice is too calm. I expect her to sit in a winged back chair, stir a cup of tea, and hypnotize me. Yeah, I go back and forth with Nancy later. She definitely does have a very soothing, kind of calming cadence to her voice, kind of delivering a lot of these like earth-changing, paradigm-shifting news in such a very calm way that maybe there is something to these Zetas and getting a brain implant to talk to them. Maybe it's a very calming situation to be the Nancy leader. Anyways, that's the end of the show for tonight. I want to thank everyone for tuning in. On Wednesday, I will be back with more talk of Planet X. We're going to get into potentially some more of the historical theories in regards to the Anunnaki and Zechariah Sitchin's theories regarding Planet X or Nibiru. We're going to get into some of the more modern kind of predictions when it comes to Planet X, because there are still a lot of fervor behind this theory, especially now. So look out for that on Wednesday. So I hope everyone stays safe the rest of the week. Please keep doing your part to keep COVID under control. With colleges opening up and people going back and living in the dorms, it's kind of exploding in certain areas of the state, especially in Tempe. But I'm hoping that down here in Pima County we can kind of keep our wits about us and keep trucking along. The cases have been going down, hospitalizations have been going down, so I'm hoping this is a good turn for the county. But anyway, if you have to go outside, wear a mask, social distance if you can, and remember, it is a weird, weird world. Take care.